Whether you're just getting started with Wordle or have been playing Wordle for a long time, these Wordle tips will help you win and help you win faster without leaving you feeling aggravated. As you know, that can sometimes happen. Hey guys, I'm Mary Schaefer from AP Now with another Wordle video. So let's start with Wordle tip number 1. Don't go for broke. So what do I mean by that? Let's say you're playing a hand, you put up your first word, and you only uncover 1 or 2 letters on the first try. So if you're like me, you put up your first word, and I usually use stare, S-T-A-R-E, but not always, and I find out that I have an E. Well, that's great. It's a little help, but it's not going to get me anywhere. So then when I go for my second choice, instead of trying to figure out what's that word with that E in it, I just forget about it for a minute and I focus on uncovering other letters rather than trying to figure out where that E went, or even if I have 2 letters. So I just try and get some more letters. Yes, I'm giving up the opportunity to win in 2 rounds, but I'm not aggravating myself for starters, and number 1, and number 2, I'm actually giving myself a much better chance of winning quicker, if you will. Okay, tip number 2, multitask. Now, let's say in that first round, you didn't get 1 or 2 letters, but you got 3 or 4. Now you've hit some real gold. And what you can do is focus on 2 things. Again, you're going to multitask. You're going to try and start to figure out where those 3 or even 4, if you're really lucky, letters really go. And you're going to try and find the missing letters. So you can do both at the same time. While you're trying to get the new letters, you can also try and figure out what where the ones that you know are, where they go. Okay, my next tip I call zigzagging. Okay, so let's say you're completely lost. Maybe even you got 4 letters, but you don't know where each of them goes, and you can't figure it out. You're kicking yourself because you're thinking, I should be able to get this, but I can't. So stop that, okay? And try put that out of your mind and try and come up with that missing letter or 2. So put the letters out of your mind that you know and come up with another word that has none of the letters that you've used so far and see if you can find some of the missing letters. And don't forget, you may have to use a letter that you've already used, okay, because there can be doubles. And if this is only your second chance, you've got 4 more. So don't make yourself so crazy about it. Okay. Now, before we get to the last 2 tips, if you like this episode, please give us a thumbs up. And if you loved it, please subscribe. We produce new content for this channel 3 times a week. Tuesdays and Thursdays are for payment and accounts payable issues, and Saturdays are reserved for Wordle. Okay, so now my next tip is Doodle. I call this the Wordle Doodle. And let's see how many times you can say that real fast. So if you're like me, sometimes you have the letters and you're pretty close, but you're trying to figure it out. And somehow in your head, you can't figure it out. So what I tell people then is to get a piece of paper. You can see here I'm doing my Wordle Doodle on the back of an envelope. And you just start putting the letters down with dashes, trying to figure out what goes where. And sometimes when you can see the little dashes and whatnot, and when you can see it, what you can't visualize in your mind, or you can't sound out for whatever reason, nothing's happening. When you put it down on paper, it comes a little stronger. Okay, and my last tip for you is to make sure that you start with a strong first word. This is especially important when you're first starting to play. So sometimes, you see people, they'll start with, crazy first words because, well, like money, okay, because they want money or something like that. Or maybe, somebody's name. Don't do that. Start with a strong first word. As you probably have read in a number of places, some folks, including the New York Times, who knows a thing or two about these things, prefers to start with crane, C-R-A-N-E, but, others have different favorite words. I think I mentioned at the beginning, I'm using stare, S-T-A-R-E, most of the time, but not always. Now, you may wish to take a deeper dive into choosing a strong first or starting word. We did a whole separate video on that, which you can watch right now using the link that will appear momentarily on YouTube. We also have a link to it in the show notes below. As always, we greatly appreciate your thumbs up, your shares, your subscribes, and your comments. So Happy Wordling. Good luck.